All right, that time of the day, market update time. Let's get straight into it. Do not place a trade based on what you're seeing in this video today, because trading is risky and it can cause substantial financial loss. There are so many areas you need to become good at to become a good trader. Emotional mastery, chart reading, trading systems, money and trade management. So this video is just educational only to help you become a much better trader. Alright, so we're going to have a market update. What happened on the markets last night? You can see the Dow Jones opened lower, came down, was having a nice rally to the downside, and came up and closed higher. We closed higher, but one thing you'll be able to see if you're looking at the short term, this is the short term resistance anyway, looking on the daily chart this is, if you can see that this market, you see this line through here, this whole line through here was indeed a level of support and resistance level. You can see how it rejected off there. You see how it bounced off there, and now it also, you can see how it actually rejected off that level through there. So that's actually a bit of a line in the sand for the Dow Jones right now. You see it ran up, came down, and we ran back down. This big down bar with this selling volume, again, as I said yesterday, is indeed telling us that we are likely to start heading into a downward trend. Now, why is that? Because we have big selling volume, and we had a big selling bar, and then obviously we can see we rejected off this. So we'll see what happens over the next week or so. But we can see that's what happened with the Dow Jones. Let's move on to the S&P. S&P had basically a higher close bar with an okay volume, with actually what I'd actually call pretty good volume. Stochastics are where they are. But we actually had a lower close as well too. So we actually had a lower low and a lower high compared to yesterday. So momentum's starting to shift here. Let's actually continue through here. We can see the Russell. The Russell is just on fire. Fire! Look at it go. So it opened, had a rally down, and it came up and closed high through there. So Russell is taking off, and same with the Nasdaq as well too. So ooh, look at the Nasdaq, just bam, 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 all the way up. It's just gonna keep going up, right? It's not gonna stop from here. It's not gonna pull back. It's just gonna keep going up. It's gonna keep going up. It's just gonna go up, up, up. It's gonna break this trend line. It's gonna go up to 5100. It's not even gonna stop there. It's just gonna keep going up, 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 and we're not gonna have any pullbacks. Newsflash. That will not happen. So what I see right now is a bit of a pump and dump situation going on, and I do believe that this little situation here is that even if we get a little bit more rise in the Nasdaq, I do see a bit of a pump and dump situation going on. So and I don't believe that this market is likely to continue up anymore. Now, it does look like it's trying to fill this gap over here, because there's a bit of a gap here. So it maybe want to try and maybe want to get a bit more upside and run into that and hit that area and hit that gap through there. But that's all that this Nasdaq may actually have. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the velocity of this move to the high side, you get bam straight to the high side. This is actually quite a vertical move, and you can see where the stochastics are and what's actually happening. So that's actually quite a vertical move. So even if we get another one more up bar, I don't buy that. And same with this Russell as well too. Okay, we bam out of the gates, came up, and now we run up through there, and and now we're actually heading up again, and we can see where we are right now. And if I just squeeze this chart up, again, you can see we're actually on that level there, that whole area of resistance where we are right now, as last time there. So I don't buy this overall, guys. I see that this market is closing higher, but yeah, again, this whole move to the high side has been quite steep. So I'm expecting, I'm expecting quite a decent pullback soon. Now, I don't know when that's going to happen. We may get a little upside tomorrow. No one really knows what's going to happen. Looking at the Nasdaq, we should get a little pullback through here, just a little pullback, and then a rally to the high side. That's what we should get. Looking at the bar, looking at this bar, we should get a little rally to the downside, and then a hold lower, and then a close higher. That's what this chart looks like. Where you see this whole there's a ton of area of support on this Russell chart here around the 115 level. So I wouldn't be too surprised 115 to even like to as much as 115.45 to 115, say 85. That whole area is a bit of the daily support there. So I wouldn't be too surprised if the market does run down, hold that support and take off. Now, if it doesn't, and this is something I want you guys to realize, this is the top here. The market's breaking up right now. If we cannot actually hold these levels, meaning if we cannot break above like that, if we hold here and then suddenly reverse straight back down and go back below this level, then that to me is a false breakout to the high side, compared to this here, and then we're likely to test these lows through here and possibly even a bit lower, but we'll see about that. So that's basically what I do see, guys, overall. You can see that, yeah, I'm not really buying this move, but again, guys, I'm not buying this move because I'm still going on this Nasdaq. Now the Russell and the S&P and the Nasdaq, they're taking off like a barrel of monkeys, just going for it. But you can see what's happening to the Dow Jones. Now I want to show something with you here. On the Dow Jones chart, we can actually see that this is the Dow Jones hourly chart. And one thing that's really interesting, you actually can see what's actually happening on the hourly chart. Remember, you can see actually this point through here. You can see how, and this is the hourly chart here. Now we're going a bit deeper into the daily action. So, firstly, actually, wait up. I'm just trying to. Oh. Firstly, if you go and if you have a look at this chart through here, once again, this is the daily chart, guys. We still haven't closed below that 17,900. We're still making this lower peak, guys. So the sellers are still in control until we break above 17,000. Until we get above 18,000. We get above 18,000, new highs are coming. But if we don't, we're breaking new lows. That's just it. So looking at that, I'm looking at the hourly chart of the Dow Jones. You can see what actually happened. It's actually the momentum in the hourly chart is actually breaking. We had this double top through here, this whole support level, and the market broke down, hit resistance, came back down, and now hit resistance again. Guys, that to me is actually quite a weak sign. And even if we get a little bit more upside, we're likely to roll over and then come back down. So the Dow Jones is actually starting to show that turning point. You can see here, right? The market came down, lower peak, lower trough, lower peak, lower trough, and it came up and it created this little sort of move through here and then turned the upside. You can see here, lower peak, lower peak, lower peak, lower trough, lower trough, lower trough. Market runs up. What is this through here? This is a higher trough breaking up. Now that's changing the short-term trend. Double top, short-term, a double top neckline, or what we call a trough. We have a lower trough through here. We're likely to form a lower peak through here and then run down. And if we have a look at the other markets, the S&P as well too, it looks like it's still struggling at that area of resistance. The Russell is just absolutely just going Burko through there. You can see how this thing is just going up, and up. And as you can see, guys, that when the market goes up this quickly, up that fast, without a decent pullback, it is likely and it's due to snap back. It doesn't just go up like that and just keep going up like that. It just doesn't. And so when you're looking at this, you can see here, right, we had a run down and we had a snap back up, and we had a run down, a little snap back up, and a run down and we had a snap up, and then a run down, a little double bottom, and it ran up, and it ran down, and ran up, and ran down. And as you can see, this thing has just continued up and up and up and up. You know what I mean? It's just like this thing will snap back, and it will snap back through here pretty quickly. And the same with the Nasdaq as well too. The Nasdaq as well too has just gone absolutely Burko and absolutely crazy. And you can see this market's gone up through here, and it's just gone crazy through here. And you can see that looking at the Nasdaq itself, you can see when it does gap, when the Nasdaq does gap, and let's actually go back over here. You can see here that the Nasdaq gapped here and it got filled there. We had a big gap here and it got filled there. We got this big gap here and it got filled over here. We had this big gap here and it got filled there. We had this gap here and it got filled over here. We had this gap here and obviously that got filled there. We had a little gap there that got filled there. We've got a gap here, we've got a gap here, and we've got a gap here, and we had a gap here, but that was filled through there. So here we have 1, 2, 3 gaps likely to be filled in the very near future, in the very short-term future, because that's the way it is. You can see over the Nasdaq, and this is me looking at the on the market. You can see when the Nasdaq gaps, it gets filled a couple of days or within a few weeks later. Generally within a few weeks later, that gap, whatever it created on the Nasdaq, is likely to be filled. So we have 1, 2, 3 gaps that we can actually see on the Nasdaq as well too. Looking on the SPY, same thing, and the QQQ, same thing as the Nasdaq as well too. So once again, I just think the Nasdaq has actually run up through here. It's actually closed the gap this gap here, which is the QQQ. Once again, we have this gap through here to fill, and we have this gap here to fill, and also we have this gap here to fill as well too. So those gaps will be filled. You can see every other time, gap, fill, gap, fill. So gaps always get filled. Gap, fill, gap, fill, gap, and then obviously that obviously a gap up and gap down, and then obviously got filled through there. So looking at that, guys, and looking at overall through here, and you can go back as much as you want, and you can actually see that these gaps eventually do get filled quite nicely. See here, gap up, fill, gap down, fill, gap up, no fill for a while, gap up, fill, gap down, fill, and then you can see the market came down. What did it do? Close this gap through here, right? So the market does eventually close those gaps. So yes, we will be getting back down to here. So that's what I do see overall, guys, on the markets and overall. So if we're looking at once again, guys, keep an eye on that hourly chart, especially on the Dow Jones, because that to me is very, very, very weak. Or I shouldn't say very weak, but it's showing the signs of now we're starting to reverse. If you see this overall internal, if we start to break down through here, then then I actually can see that happening. Now moving forward, we actually can see once again, guys, we can see that this market actually broke down. We can see that this market actually, if you go through here to here, and you can see how the markets bounce up, it's broke down through there. We can see we had this selling bar yesterday with an increase in volume, and today we had like a little up bar with not increasing in volume, and where the stochastics are. Once again, guys, this is actually a weak sign. We need to get back above 18,000. We get above 18,000. And then, yeah, we're likely to continue up. But I don't see that happening. I really do not see that happening. I see a lot more downside to come. And that's what I do see, guys, on the overall US indices. I'm not going to BS you here. Trading is hard. Over my 10 years of trading, I've learned some amazing systems and strategies. And I've put it all in my brand new Grab the Markets by the Balls course. And I'm giving you 100% free access. This whole course is 12 videos long and almost 10 hours of the best systems and strategies that I know. Click on the image below now to get 100% free access right now.